Our preseason football vlog podcast continues here in Atlanta. I'm Tolly Carr, along with Lut Williams from the Black College Sports page, the Black College Sports page. Stephen J. Gaither, founder of HBCUGameDay.com. This is just spontaneous. We're in my house because these guys were in Atlanta, so we said, hey, let's do it.
Where the players play is what they told me.
I don't know about that here, but instead of just microphones, we are lights, cameras, and microphones. Let's talk a little bit about the MEAC. And guys, as I have been hanging out down south, I have been a little disconnected from the MEAC. Kind of people think about it, they think, oh, okay, A&T, because they've been the team to beat. Will that trend continue in 2019?
It's going to be interesting to see. Certainly, they bring back a nucleus of very talented players. I think the total was 10 all-conference players, all MEAC players that they're bringing back. Running back, wide receiver, offensive line, defensive backfield, and All-American, in fact, in Mac McCain in the defensive backfield. They're certainly going to be the team to beat. They were challenged last year. Interestingly, they won the Celebration Bowl, back-to-back Celebration Bowl winners, but they lost 2 games in conference at home. One to Morgan State, who finished in the second half of the conference, and one to Florida A&M, that was probably their chief challenger last year for the first time. North Carolina Central had been their nemesis over the last several years, but they thoroughly destroyed North Carolina Central in the final game. But they did lose those 2 games, interestingly, at home. And you said you've been down south, so you haven't been up north where the MEAC is, but all you gotta do is read the headlines, because they came down south and beat Jacksonville State.
I was there.
He was there.
Out of the OVC, nationally ranked team. And then they came back and topped that with a big win over East Carolina. Not an FCS team, but a Division I team. Got the coach fired at East Carolina. That's the big...
he needs to call Avery Johnson, cry on his shoulder.
Right. That's called the big Sam Washington bring me my money game.
Yeah.
Bring me my money.
Yeah, bring me my money. So my man
Still
Sam...
getting clips off that.
Yeah, but that was there's a whole backstory behind that about how they were going to cancel the game and said they were going to fine A&T if they didn't play the game, like, I think it was $500,000. And
because wasn't that game started on a Saturday?
Yeah, it was a rain.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thunderstorms.
Right.
They had to finish it on Sunday.
And they threatened A&T if they did, because A&T said, just cancel the game. We won't play it. And they said, oh, the contract says. and Sam went to his lawyers at A&T. Said, I don't remember that in the contract. But they said if you don't play. So he told his players that they were very fired up. That's what really led to that whole bring me my money kind of situation, because they were getting $450,000 or something like that.
That's how you go viral.
The game, yeah. So to go from beating a FCS top 5 ranked team to open the season, and then beat an FBS team, but then lose 2 games in the conference against conference opponents. It's like, figure that one out for me anyway. But
that's human nature. You get too high.
Morgan State. Was anybody really expecting Morgan State to win? No. Shout out to Steven's season. But you won, but nobody was expecting it. So, they got caught in a dogfight with the Bears, and they lost.
They did. At home, last-second field goal in both of those games. They were 2 last-second field goals from being really undefeated for the second year in a row. So they're certainly the class of the MEAC right now. They were challenged last year. As I said, Florida A&M was probably their biggest challenger. Howard, keep in mind now, Central has a new coach. Howard has a new coach. Morgan State has a new coach. They're flipping coaches in that conference. And really, all of the conferences have their share of new coaches. So it's going to be interesting to see. I thought Howard was a team on the rise. Cam Newton's little brother has made national headlines a couple of years. He was a player of the year last year in the conference. They have the guy I pegged as their top NFL prospect in all of the MEAC in Jaquez Ezzard.
He was the offensive player of the year to me. No disrespect to Cam.
I agree 100%, but he missed like parts of 3 games probably what affected him not being, but he's a dynamic player. I compare him to that played for Carolina. Steve Smith.
Yeah, I mean, you were there at Central, right? Yeah, when he just ate them alive.
He torched them. So no, A&T is the class, but Howard and FAMU, if I was ranking them, those two, Bethune-Cookman's always in the mix as one of the teams that will probably challenge A&T. Beyond that, I'm not sure. I don't know if there's any other teams.
You don't have Savannah State anymore to kick around.
Steve, last year we thought it would have been the year of Kalen Newton and Howard. When Mike London left, it seems like that took a little bit of steam away from the hype, at least surrounding the program. But hype doesn't win you ball games. Yeah. You know, X's and O's and Jimmys and Joes get that part of it done. Do you think this will be an under the radar year for Howard? Maybe a little more, less pressure, a little more relaxed, maybe?
Maybe. I think Howard is still, they're still Howard. They're still the rich kid of the conference that everybody wants to beat up on. The rich, good-looking guys. So we'll see what happens with them. But as much pub as they got the last couple years, other than that FBS win over Nevada, they were a 500 team, even in the MEAC. So they've gone a long way, not to have really done a lot. So if I'm Bethune-Cookman, Bethune-Cookman did get a lot of TV time. So obviously, maybe the folks, in the MEAC know that they're going to be a team to watch. I'm looking at Bethune-Cookman. I like their quarterback, Kevius Williams. I think he's the most efficient quarterback that is in the MEAC right now. Just in terms of he doesn't turn the ball over that much. He can run with the ball. And, for Kalen Newton, he's making a lot of big plays, but he's also turned the ball over a lot. So he's got to come down on his turnovers. And I think Williams and that Bethune-Cookman offense, maybe I just been watching a little bit too much of the Wyatt Bone this summer, and I'm a little bit Bethune-Cookman happy. But I think Bethune-Cookman is going to make a statement. And I also think that North Carolina Central will find their wings once again and maybe soar a little bit higher this year with Waleed's favorite guy, Chauncey Caldwell, as quarterback, and Isaiah Totten, the #1 running back from HBCUGameDay.com in the MEAC. So they got some weapons.
Any sleepers out there? I mean, we haven't talked about Norfolk State, South Carolina State, Delaware State.
No, I think that South Carolina State, for example, made a lot of strides last year. Really got back into contention, finished in the top half of the standings. Really got Oliver Buddy Pugh another few years on his contract as a result of that performance. I think the thing about Howard, as he said earlier, is we don't really know enough about Ron Prince in the HBCU. He had a head coaching job at Kansas State on a Division I level. He was they said an offensive analyst for Michigan last year. So he's got a lot of Division I credentials. How he's going to fare at Howard remains to be seen. Norfolk State I especially like Juwan Pooty Carter.
Pooty done did it again.
But what the problem is, Pooty got to stop turning.
He just turned the ball over again.
He got to stop turning the ball over.
We'll just take a moment to thank his parents.
And thank him for keeping the name Pooty.
For giving us the name Pooty.
Because I was a Pookie, and then I let it go.
Oh, really?
But he kept it. Okay. So, I mean, shout out to...
Pookie that's not nearly as unique
as Pooty. Right, exactly. But he's a talented guy, had a very great high school career, and certainly head coach Scott has really pinned his hopes to turn the Spartans around on his play. He's turned it over, but he also had, games where he's thrown for 300 yards and
he beat Central as a freshman when nobody had done that in a long time in the MEAC. So at home.
And I have a lot of respect and faith that Coach Scott is going to really turn that program around and get Norfolk State into that top half of the conference, because so far they've just been falling short. Every time they've been in a position to really make a kind of game or program changing win, they've not been able to come through.
One of the problems that's been with them from the people I've talked to is they haven't necessarily had the resources money wise. And so, everybody's like, hey, what's going on? Fire Coach Scott. But And there is that contingent there, but I'm gonna say, Norfolk State, since they've been in the MEAC, I mean, P. Adrian won a couple years, but they've never really had a program consistently that could compete in the MEAC. So he's kind of, got to get around that. But I think this is year 5 for him there. It's a lot of pressure, but I think they're going to be definitely a team to watch. And even Delaware State. I mean, I think we saw last year with Morgan State beating A&T that any given team, the MEAC, there's not that much of a difference between especially the middle and the bottom. And so I think that, they've got a new coach as well. So a lot going on there. And Morgan State, we haven't even talked about them, but Tyrone Wheatley, the former running back from Michigan, is there. And so they've got some excitement there. They haven't, they got that one in 2014. And other than that, they haven't really won since they were back in the CIAA. So, they got some work to do as well. So, but there's a lot of optimism.
All right. So Celebration Bowl, who comes out for the MEAC?
I'd be very surprised if there's anyone other than A&T. I like FAMU. I like the run that FAMU made. They were like Prairie View started high.
FAMU can't go even if they.
Oh, that's correct. You're
they
right.
Can buy a
You're
ticket.
Right. That's right. Huh?
They can buy a ticket.
Yeah, but they were like Prairie View. They started hot and finished cold. I think they lost 3 out of their last 4. But you said they can't go to the Celebration Bowl. I would say this: if Howard doesn't challenge A&T, I don't think anybody will. And A&T and Howard do play this year. They have not played for the past 3 or 4 years, but they play this year. And that should be a very interesting game.
And Jay Walker's already warming up his way. I ran into the end zone at homecoming back in 1993. What's up, Jay?
Right.
I'm gonna, I gotta live in North Carolina. I gotta live around a lot of Aggies, but I'm gonna be that guy. I'm gonna go pick with Bethune-Cookman. Bring back the Wyatt Bone. No, don't bring back the Wyatt Bone, but I think they've got a lot of weapons, and I think Coach Simmons is gonna have those guys ready to take down those guys in Greensboro.
Old guys think alike. Until I see somebody beat A&T,
Aggie pride.
I'm not going to put my money.
He hates to hear that. But,
hey, man, these are the facts.